A pioneer train chugs its way across open country deep into the heart of rhino territory. Umfolozi, South African home of the white rhino, lies ahead, and yet there's still more than 5,000 miles to go. Even so, there are rhino, only a few yards ahead, blocking the track. The drivers of the first trains to cross the African veldt knew better than to run into a rhino, especially a white rhino. At 3 tons, it's the second heaviest land animal on Earth. But this plainly isn't a trainload of African pioneers, and the rhinos aren't roaming the bushveld. These are green fields, shaded by friendly English oaks, a long, long way from Umfolozi.
Green, green English pastures, under skies of blue, all is strange and new. It's a long, long way from Umfolozi, and the world that was once your home. Stark Zululand country, where the grass burns brown as the sun beats down. Such a wild, wild land was Umfolozi, the place that you used to roam. Deep, deep in the bushveld, life was never strange, things could never change. Then one day in Umfolozi, things were never to be the same.
200 years ago, white rhinos grazed peacefully all the way from the Sudan to the Cape of Good Hope. Then the pioneers came, and the inoffensive rhinos began to disappear. The main concentration survived between the black and white Umfolozi rivers in Zululand. By the 1920s, there were only about 30 of these animals left in the whole of South Africa. It seemed that the white rhino was doomed with the coming of the white man and his gun. A white rhino is shot, but the shot is fired to save, not to kill. The marksman is a ranger belonging to the Natal Parks Board, and the dart he fires is loaded with anaesthetic. Now he must wait for the anaesthetic to take effect. The horseman is a link with the Zulu past, and his job is to track the darted rhino through the thick thorn bush until the drug begins to work. In this thickly forested country, a darted rhino takes some following. It may be as much as 10 minutes before he keels over. Right. Now the horseman can call up the waiting Land Rover and the lorry by shortwave radio. Directly he arrives, the capture officer injects the sleeping rhino with an antibiotic. This is followed soon after with the reviving drug that'll bring it round sufficiently to enable it to get on its feet. To tell the truth, the Natal Parks Board has done this exact operation so many times it's almost become a time and motion study. But this time there's a difference. This rhino, and 19 others of its kind, are going on a very long and very special journey. The first stage of that journey is possibly the most difficult one. It involves the apparently simple process of getting the animal into a crate. But with a 3-ton rhino, as you can imagine, even when it's partly drugged, nothing is ever entirely simple. From the edge of extinction at the end of the last century, the white rhinos of Natal have steadily built up their numbers. It's been a classic story of common sense and good conservation, and the credit must go largely to the Natal Parks Board. Today, in Umfolozi and in the neighbouring Shlushlui Reserve, there are at least 1,500 white rhinos. In fact, the country there is overstocked, despite the fact that they've already sent 500 to other parts of Africa. But in the view of the Natal parks, even this doesn't guarantee the species 100% safety. So, a year ago, the parks decided that they would doubly insure the white rhino's future. They talked with the Zoological Society of London and arranged to set up a breeding herd in England. All told, 40 white rhinos would be sent to the zoo's open-air park at Whipsnade. In this crate is number 1 of the first consignment of 20. His life is about to change drastically, but no more drastically than his native Natal has changed since the days of the Zulus. Not far away, there's a model Zulu village that's been set up for tourists, all that there is to show the old Zulu way of life. Once, this part of Africa was completely dominated by the Zulu, and it was due to the fact that Umfolozi lies in the heart of the old Zulu kingdom that the rhinos survived at all. While the Zulu warriors defied the white man, the white rhino was only hunted by royal command, and so the animal was not in any danger from man. But once the Zulu impis had been smashed by the muskets of the red-coated British squares, the Natal rhinos were in deadly danger. Zulu kraals were replaced by white farms and settlements, and it looked as if the rhinos would follow the old Zulu rituals and war dances into limbo. After the defeat of Zulu power, the expected slaughter of rhinos soon took place between the black and white Umfolozi rivers. The white rhino is docile and easily approachable, so they were a sitting target for the guns of settlers who shot everything that moved. The crocs, because they were considered a danger, and the rhinos for trophies and, well, just because they were there. By 1900, there were thought to be only about 30 left. But then there came a change of heart. President Kruger of South Africa was the first to set up a national park. Having killed so much in the early days, reaction set in. Now the movement was towards conserving the country's natural resources. The white rhino was at the beginning of its long road back. Today, although the rhinos seem secure in Natal, it's just possible, with all the uncertainties of modern Africa, that they could still find themselves in danger even there. 70 years of careful conservation could be set at naught, for instance, by disease. That was why it was decided to set up a breeding bank on the chilly savannas of Whipsnade, Bedfordshire, far from the sunshine and heat of Umfolozi, Natal. 40 rhinos is a lot to carry halfway across the world. You may ask, why so many? And the answer is that, so far, isolated pairs of white rhinos have just refused to breed in captivity. Their relatives, the moody and far more aggressive black rhino, seem quite happy to settle down in a zoo with a single mate and produce young. But the white rhino appears to believe that there is safety, or perhaps excitement, in numbers. So the Natal parks have arranged to catch 40 rhinos all told. Their first stop after capture is a large boma, or holding pen, where they can settle down and get over the shock of their experience. They're very cooperative. A Zulu worker here separates a pair with a gentle prod with a long stick. Then they must adjust to a change of diet. In the wild, white rhinos graze on all kinds of grasses. In the boma, they quickly get used to the local hay and a grass called teff. The Zulu who looks after them is called Tembo. He's the leader of his local community, and what he doesn't know about rhinos at Umfolozi is scarcely worth knowing. Early on during the operation, there was an unexpected addition to the party. A 3-ton cow gave birth in the boma to an infant only a rhino mother could call beautiful. The baby was too young to travel, so of course it would have to stay with its mother on the reserve. Miles away, at Whipsnade, everything was being made ready for the rhino's arrival. Roads had to be built that would bear lorries loaded with 10 tons of animal. Two resident black rhinos munched away, blissfully unaware of the overseas tourists who would soon be invading their private enclosure. The zoo authorities introduced a nice touch of showmanship to their conservation plans. They built a sightseeing railway through the 30-acre park where the rhinos were to be released. Even a rhino will think twice about charging a train. Back at Umfolozi, in the holding pens, the newborn rhino fed contentedly from his mother. Even though he was too young to make the long sea voyage, the fact that mother and child had settled down in captivity was most encouraging. The rhinos weren't just being carried to England so that visitors could look at them, of course. They were expected to be fruitful and multiply when they got there. While they wait, family life continues as usual. And so do the occasional punch-ups. Reminds you of some of these heavyweight boxing contests. In the wild, male white rhinos have their mating territories ruled over by one boss bull. Inside this area, which can be as much as 600 acres, the boss will see off any rival who dares to trespass. They will let any young males and females wander about without bothering to challenge them. In captivity, sparring takes place quite a lot of the time between rhinos of all ages and sexes. There's never anything very serious about it. It's rather like school children pushing each other around to work off some steam in the playground. At last, the Natal Park's catchers had completed the consignment of 20 rhinos and were ready to travel. So were the rhinos, provided they could be persuaded to enter the crates. Actually, it's dead easy. During the weeks they've spent in the pen, their food has been put down inside the crates. If they want to eat, they've got to go inside to reach it. So they very soon accept the idea. Nice fresh hay and teff is the bait for this giant mousetrap. After the meal, they leave the crate and return to the boma. But today, at the start of their journey to England, there's one important difference from the normal routine. This time, once they're inside,